Nerd Squad. We're back with another NFL video. Now, day one of the NFL draft, the first round just ended, and man, it was a crazy one. There were quite a few trades, a lot of very unexpected picks, so let's go ahead and review what happened. So, as I'm sure we all expected, Bengals went ahead and selected Joe Burrow from LSU. I would grade this as an A. It's pretty self-explanatory. Very good quarterback in college football. Really a self-explanatory pick. Redskins took Chase Young, edge rusher from Ohio State. Another very expected pick. I was personally higher on Isaiah Simmons, but I expected Chase Young more. I'll give them probably an A- for this. I'm debating on still giving them a solid A. Very good pick for them. Really not much to say about that. The Lions went ahead and selected Jeffrey Okudah. This was another pretty expected pick. Give that an A. Next, the Giants selected Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle from Georgia. I honestly expected Mekhi Becton, but Andrew Thomas was a good pick for them. Very good pick for them. I'd give them probably a B+ or maybe A- on that. Next, the Dolphins select Tua Tagovailoa. There were rumors that they might be wanting Justin Herbert instead, or potentially trade back and get someone else, or even just taking a tackle right here. But they ended up getting their guy. I didn't really fall for any of the rumors. I still had him taking Tua. I'd honestly give them an A for this pick. I'm still really high on Tua there. Next, the Chargers selected Justin Herbert. Another pretty expected pick. This one I was falling for some of the rumors though. They were saying they were gonna roll with Tyrod Taylor, and a lot of people expected them to take an offensive tackle here. Well, they didn't do that, and they took Justin Herbert. I'd give this probably a B+. Good move there. Next, the Carolina Panthers took Derrick Brown. Now, as a Panthers fan, I realized that Derrick Brown was probably more of a need. But I was still kind of upset about it. With Isaiah Simmons still on the board, I really thought he'd help elevate our defense a lot and thought he'd be kind of the no-brainer pick here. But with a struggling run defense and switching back to a 4-3, I do think the Panthers needed this more. I'm going to give them a B- just because Simmons was still on the board. CJ Henderson was still on the board. I think CJ Henderson is honestly very close to Jeffrey Okudah. I think he actually has better ball skills than him too. So I would have preferred Henderson as well. And I'm not saying this is a bad pick for Carolina at all. They definitely needed a D tackle, but with the other players on the board, I think they should have taken Simmons or Henderson, so I will give this a B-. Next, the Cardinals, well, they took the best player on the board in Isaiah Simmons. Yeah, I was not real happy during this part of the draft, so we'll just move on from that. We'll give Cardinals an A+. That's plain and simple. Give them an A+. The Jags took CJ Henderson. Another way to just rub it in. Again, I was very salty during this part of the draft. Probably said some words I very much should not have, but it is what it is. Jags got a good player here. Where they took him, I'm going to give them an A. I'm not going to give the plus just because he was more projected of a 13th or 14th-ish pick. So yeah, I'll give them an A, just not an A plus there. Next, the Browns went ahead and took Jedrick Wills from Alabama. I think this was a good move. However, where Wills is more of a right tackle, and they need a left tackle more, I think Mekhi Becton would have been the better pick. As many of you know, Becton is actually the number 1 tackle on my board, and I really think they should have gone with him, but it was still a good pick nonetheless. I'll give them an A- on that one. Next, the Jets actually selected Mekhi Becton. I'm gonna give this an A+ considering I had him going in the top 5 in some of my other mock drafts. Jets get a very good player here. I still expected CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy, but Mekhi Becton was a really good pick for them. Next, the Raiders selected Henry Ruggs, which was a pretty expected pick there. We know John Gruden loves his, really speedy guys, and I think he's gonna really help that offense. Really help give them, a good deep threat. He ran a 4.27 at the combine. I'm gonna give them a solid A on this one. It was a good pick. Next, the Buccaneers actually traded up for the to select Tristan Wirfs. If I remember right, they traded a 4th round pick to the 49ers and got a 7th round pick in return, and then they swapped their 1st round picks. So really doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but good move on the Niners. And then the 49ers selected D tackle Javon Kinlaw. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think their D line is still very good, and they honestly should have taken a wide receiver instead. But still a good move. I'll grade that probably I'll give it a B. Next, the Broncos went ahead and selected Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver from Alabama. I'm gonna give it an A. It was a pretty expected pick, but we also expected him to be gone between 11 and 13-ish. So I'm going to give him an A. I would give him an A+, but where... Actually, I will give him an A+ on that. Where we expected him to go a little bit higher up, I think this was probably... I think it's probably the best move they could have done besides getting CeeDee Lamb, which I am a little bit higher on. But very good pick for them. I'll give them an A+ on that. Next, the Falcons took corner A.J. Terrell, which I think they reached a little bit on this. I had A.J. Terrell more of a late first-round pick to early to mid second-round pick. I think they reached a little bit on this. Now, good corner, I think, kind of matches what they're doing, but because of how much they reached, I'm going to go ahead and give them a B-. It was a good pick, just reached too much on that. Next is the Cowboys, and they went ahead and actually took CeeDee Lamb, which, since he's there, I think it was the smart thing to do. In my mocks, I had them taking Xavier McKinney, which would have been a really good move as well. But, I mean, if CeeDee Lamb is there, you absolutely have to take him. It's going to be a deadly duo with Amari Cooper. I'm going to go ahead and give them an A+ on this. This was definitely a steal. Next, the Miami Dolphins selected Austin Jackson, offensive tackle out of... I'm trying to remember. Out of USC. Sorry about that. He was one of the few that I really did not remember where he's from. And for some reason this is glitching up and... Okay, sorry about that. That was a little weird. I expected him to take a guy more like Josh Jones here, but I do have Austin Jackson graded really closely with him. I'm gonna go ahead and give him a B plus. Josh Jones I think would have been the better pick, but they did definitely need an offensive tackle, and while it might be reaching a little bit, it was a big need for them. They took a good guy there, so I'll give him a B plus. Next, the Raiders took cornerback. I almost said Jeff Gladney, but they did not take Jeff Gladney. They actually took cornerback Damon Arnett. I can't find him on here for some reason. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask between finding him on here and actually speaking. Okay, so take Damon Arnett, corner out of Ohio State. Pretty underrated corner. A lot of people, including myself, had him more in the late second round to early third round. But I thought had first round talent. Well, the Raiders saw that talent and took him. I think they could have gotten away with waiting a little bit though, so I'll give them a B plus on that. It was a good pick. I think they could have waited till their second round pick to take him. Next, the Jaguars selected K'Lavon Chaisson from LSU. Now, I'm really not that high on K'Lavon Chaisson. Edge was a big need for them, so I'll give him points for that. Taken about where I expected him to. I'll go ahead and give them a B minus, just because I'm really not that big on K'Lavon Chaisson. He has some bust potential. His pass rush moves just don't really seem all that smooth, but it was still a good pick. I will give him that. So give him a B minus on that one. Next, the Eagles selected. Sorry, let me go back to that. The Eagles selected wide receiver Jalen Reagor. I have to find him on here. They don't really have everything ranked as, how the draft actually went, so have to kind of scroll through and find him. They got Jalen Reagor. I personally, if I were them, would have gone Justin Jefferson or Denzel Mims or even Brandon Ayuk. I think they reached on it. He's a good pick. They need a wide receiver, but I'm actually gonna give them a C plus on this one. With the other guys available there, it wasn't a smart move to me. Next, the Minnesota Vikings got Justin Jefferson, the guy that should have gone to the Eagles. Right off the bat, I'm going to give them an A. Pretty underrated wide receiver, to be honest. I really do not get why the Eagles didn't take him. It makes no sense to me. I think he's going to be a good fit in Minnesota. So, I'm giving them an A there. Next, the Chargers traded up and selected linebacker Kenneth Murray. This one was kind of surprising to me. I expected them taking an offensive tackle, or if they did take a linebacker, I expected more Patrick Queen. However, I am honestly higher on Murray than Queen. I thought I was one of the few people that did that. So, I'll go ahead and give them a B on this. I think they had other more important needs, but he is a good fit there. Pretty slept on guy. I'll go ahead and give them a B. If this filter wants to be taken off. There we go. The Saints. Now, Saints were a move that I might have this as possibly the worst move in the first round. They ended up taking center Cesar Ruiz from Michigan. Now, don't get me wrong. Cesar Ruiz is a first-round guy, maybe early second round. But the Saints really don't need offensive line help. I don't think it would have hurt to take a potential wide receiver or even a linebacker like Patrick Queen. It just didn't make sense to me. I'm sorry, Saints fans, but I'm going to have to give this one a C-. Possibly the worst move in the first round of the draft. I do not agree with this move at all. Next, the 49ers traded back up and got Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver out of Arizona State. Excuse me. Good move. Personally, if I were them and traded up, I would have preferred Denzel Mims, but still a really good move nonetheless. They needed wide receiver help. I would have preferred they take CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy at number 13. But this was still a good move for them. I'll go ahead and give them an A on this. Very solid move late in the draft here. Good trade up. Next, the Packers traded up and took my guy Jordan Love, quarterback from Utah State. This was a surprising move. Jordan Love is a really talented quarterback, as we all know. I didn't expect him to go to the Packers. This is what surprises me. They still have Aaron Rodgers. I still see him having another 3 or 4 good years on him. And Jordan Love, yeah, I guess he is more of a guy you want to develop a little bit, but 3 to 4 years, I think that's kind of stretching it a little bit. Unless there's some talk going on in Green Bay that we don't know about, I don't see why they did this. I think Aaron Rodgers still has a few years before he retires, and you're going to want Jordan Love to start probably by 2021 or 2022. I don't completely understand it. If they would have taken him at 30, where they originally had their pick, it would have made more sense to me. But since they traded up for it, I'll give them a B. Jordan Love is a really good quarterback, and I think he'll be successful in the NFL. The place that in Green Bay taking him and trading up for him, that part it didn't make sense to me. Especially considering the teams that are selecting afterwards, the Seahawks, Ravens, and Titans. The Seahawks have Russell Wilson. Ravens have Lamar Jackson. Titans just extended Ryan Tannehill. Why would any of them take Jordan Love? The Dolphins, who they traded with, got Tua. Why would they take Jordan Love? I just don't quite understand this trade. I guess good for the Dolphins. They got some more draft capital out of it, but kind of a weird move for the Packers. Next, the Seattle Seahawks. Actually, another surprise here. They actually decided to take linebacker Jordan Brooks. Let me see if I can find him on here. Man, this is not in that order. Okay. Yeah, linebacker from Texas Tech. If I were them, I would have taken Patrick Queen, to be honest, considering, the guys on the board. But still, I think he'd be a good fit for Seattle. I'm going to go ahead and give this a solid B. Not really one of the moves that jumps out to me, but still a pretty solid move for them. So, I'll give them a B. Next, the Ravens take Patrick Queen. Go ahead and give this move an A. The guys on the board, and considering their other needs, I don't see any other player that really could have been better for them. They didn't really need to trade up for him. They just got their guy there. I'm going to give him an A. Really good move. Next, the Titans selected Isaiah Wilson, offensive tackle from Georgia. That's actually both offensive tackles from Georgia drafted in the first round. Not sure if that's ever happened, by the way. I could look into that later, but yeah, I don't know if that's ever happened, having both tackles from a school taken in the first round. Then here we found another surprise. The Dolphins selected Noah Igbinoghene from Auburn. Now, the Dolphins didn't really jump out as a team that needed a corner. They obviously got Byron Jones. They still have Xavier Howard. With the other needs they have, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Heck, even taking a second offensive tackle here would have made more sense to me. Who knows? They could have some type of sneaky plan there, but to me, it just didn't really make a lot of sense. I'll go ahead and give them a B- on that, or even lower. I'm gonna give them a C+. It didn't make a lot of sense to me because they have other needs, and corner is one of them that I didn't think was a big need for them. Next, the Vikings went ahead and selected corner Jeff Gladney from TCU. This one kind of upset me. I was really, really hoping he would fall to the Panthers in the second round, and the Panthers draft him. It was kind of wishful thinking. I can't be too upset about it because it was pretty bound to happen. But they take Jeff Gladney. I'm going to give them an A for that move too. I think he's the best corner on the board at this point. Good move by the Vikings. And the Kansas City Chiefs finish off by taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU. Kind of a questionable move for me. Now granted, they did need a running back. However, I thought really DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, all of them, I think were a better pick than Edwards-Helaire. I'm going to go ahead and give them a solid B here because it is probably what they needed the most. And really with Andy Reid, they could fit him anywhere in that offense and he'll be a stud. So still a good move for them. Based on my previous mock draft, it was actually my final mock draft before this 2020 draft. I got 9 of my predictions correct. I was very wrong about a lot of them. But mock drafts, they're never correct. Nobody is able to predict all 32 correctly. It's near impossible. But let me know what you thought about this first round. Are you happy with who your team drafted? Would you have drafted someone else? Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe and leave a like, and I will see you next time. Later.